after I found out I passed the civil service exam. My girlfriend's mother asked me to give up my spot and let her daughter take the spot instead. I initially thought it was her personal decision. But then my girlfriend also threatened me, saying, "Anyway, I'm going to marry you, whether you passed or I passed. It's the same thing, right? If you don't want to, then we'll break up." Well then. The first sword upon reaching the shore is to sever ties with the one you love. She gave me 2 pieces of good news directly. Chapter 1. I topped the civil service exam comprehensive score, so I was pretty much set. To be safe, after the interview, I took a day off and then came to do a pre-check. There was a bit of a line ahead. As soon as I took out my phone, I received a message from my girlfriend's mom. Her tone was very affectionate, which was actually the first time I'd felt that way. The message read, "George, I heard you were first in both the written and interview exams. Congratulations from me in advance. Willow." This kid, although she made it to the interview, didn't perform well and got eliminated. Relatives and friends are asking if you passed, but I don't know how to bring it up. "You're easy to worry about. Not only smart but lucky too," I replied, telling her not to be upset with Willow, that Willow had worked hard too. After replying, I casually checked the chat history with my girlfriend, Willow. The last message was from the day before yesterday. She sent her congratulations with a yellow bean smile emoji. I could understand Willow's reaction. We both applied for the same position in the provincial exam, but only one person would be accepted. I got the spot, and she didn't. It's only natural that she would be upset. My dad had asked around before. This position offers great salary and benefits, and the direct supervisor is competent. The prospects are very good. So when it came time to choose a position, I picked this one without hesitation. On the last day of the application, Willow asked me which position I was applying for. I didn't think too much about it and just sent her a screenshot. Then when I printed out the admission ticket, something unexpected happened. Her admission ticket showed a different position from what she had mentioned before. Not in her hometown H city, but the same position as mine, in a municipal department in S city. I asked, "Didn't you apply for your hometown?" Willow and I were classmates in college. My family is from S city, and hers is from H city. Her family was concerned about her moving too far away, so they wanted her to return and develop there. I vaguely remembered her mentioning this. Willow seriously told me that although she had applied for the 3 supports and 1 poverty alleviation program in her hometown and had studied well for it, she thought if she could try for the S city position, it might help convince her parents to let her stay here with me. She hadn't expected it to match up with mine. Just as I was thinking, Willow's mom sent another message. Willow didn't pass the 3 supports and 1 poverty alleviation. This was her best result, 2nd overall. "George, I'd like to discuss something with you." She didn't pass the exam. No wonder she didn't bring it up later. And about this interview. After the interview, I asked Willow about the result, but she wouldn't say anything, so she came 2nd. I had a bad feeling, staring at the messages popping up on my screen. But I didn't rush to reply. Sure enough, Willow's mom asked, "Do you think you can give up your spot and let Willow take it instead? You're smart and hardworking. You can always try again next time, maybe even do better." But Willow is not as lucky. This is the best result she could get, and I promise you, once she reports, you too can get engaged. How about it? How do I feel about it? I don't feel good about it at all. Willow's mom really thought she could say such a thing. During the preparation for the exam, I woke up at 6 a.m. and slept at 11 p.m. every day. From morning to night, I took online courses, watched the news, memorized key phrases, the notes I wrote, the practice papers I did, the mistakes I reviewed, stacked up to half a person's height. I never worked this hard even for the college entrance exam. The preparation for the interview was even more intense. I practiced in front of the mirror, with the camera, with my family. In the end, my parents would rather stay in a hotel than come home. I could only practice with my cat, Big Orange. I practiced so much that Big Orange barely ate for a week. She says I'm lucky. A light-hearted comment about being lucky and smart doesn't erase all the effort I put in. I felt a surge of anger. Chapter 2. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself down. I paused for about 2 minutes before I started typing my reply. "Auntie, I'm sorry, but I can't agree. Just because I might pass next time doesn't mean I should give up my spot this time." Halfway through typing, Willow's call came through. As soon as I answered, I heard her speaking urgently. "Honey, don't listen to my mom. She's just doing this because she saw me so upset and made this decision on her own. For some reason." Hearing Willow's voice immediately calmed me down. I'd never felt so calm before. It was as if my soul and body had separated. I heard myself speak calmly. "I'm outside and the internet isn't great, so I didn't see Auntie's message." "What did she say?" There was a brief pause on the other end. Then I heard Willow speak awkwardly. "Ah, you didn't see it?" I asked. "Was it something important?" "Don't worry. No matter what Auntie said, I'll understand her." Willow replied. Well, not really. It's just that my mom feels sorry for me. Please don't take it out on her. I kept my face neutral, but deliberately softened my voice as I said, of course not. After all, she's my future mother-in-law. I'm going for my physical now. The doctor is hurrying me. I'll hang up first. Willow replied. Wait a second. Suddenly, she called out to stop me. Her tone was downcast as she said, I went to the hospital today. The checkup showed mild depression. The doctor said it's from the pressure of the civil service exam. Willow hesitated as she spoke. I knew her well, and when she lies, she always sounds like this. So, what happened today might not have been entirely her mom's decision. It's possible she had some plans of her own. Mental scars can be healed, but the mind, that's another story, I replied. The signal here isn't great. I can't hear clearly. If there's something, just message me on WeChat. I hung up the phone. The doctor in the examination room had already grown a bit impatient. I calmed myself down and apologized to him. The doctor didn't say much, but as usual, he asked a few questions. After learning I was doing a pre-check for a physical exam, he congratulated me. He even joked, no wonder you forgot the checkup. You must have been busy sharing the good news with your girlfriend. I awkwardly smiled and said, actually, my girlfriend and her mom were just trying to convince me to give up my spot so she can take it. The doctor was speechless. He extended his hand with sincerity and said, congratulations, my man. You've got 2 pieces of good news now. Getting on shore and breakup. Chapter 3. I froze for a moment. The doctor's expression immediately changed. He frowned and said, no way. If you can't separate this, I'll separate you with a forklift. His eyes were full of righteous indignation and frustration. I couldn't help but laugh out loud, and the anger and frustration I'd been feeling just melted away. Completely calm, I suddenly realized a lot of things. For example, the day before the written exam, Willow asked to meet up to cheer me on. Halfway through dinner, over something small, she suddenly got angry, saying I didn't care about her or consider her feelings. She started bringing up old issues we'd already resolved. We had a huge argument, and it got really ugly. In the end, she threw out the line, let's take a break and cool off, and walked off. Around 2 or 3 in the morning, I got a call from my dad. He said, George, I never interfere with your love life, but I'm not too fond of this girlfriend of yours. To be honest, all couples fight, but when you two fight, what's with your girlfriend's mom coming to our house in the middle of the night, causing a scene? She came over, crying and yelling, saying you abandoned her daughter and should compensate her for her lost youth. Do you know about this? I was speechless. That was also the first time I found out that my considerate, understanding girlfriend had so many complaints about me. Considering what happened today with her and her mom, I suddenly understood. So, when she started the argument before the written exam, it was all a mind game. If I didn't have a strong mindset, I probably would have failed the exam. Looking back, the phone call on the day of the interview wasn't a coincidence either. On interview day, Willow asked me to take her to the exam site. We had just made up, but I still had some unresolved feelings, so I directly refused her. I told her I'd just eat near the exam site and walk there, not planning to detour to pick her up. Around 7, when I was about to leave, my dad encouraged me. Son, just do your best. If you don't pass, take another exam. He smiled and said, our family isn't short on money. Even if you lie flat and don't work, it's fine. Don't worry. I nodded and was about to leave when I had a strange instinct that made me stop. I left all my electronic devices with my dad and asked him to keep them safe before I entered the gate. In the last moment before the exam, I saw Willow, who had arrived late. She looked at me strangely, almost in shock. After the interview, my dad approached and asked, son, how did the exam go? I let out a long breath and said, it's pretty much stable. My dad smiled widely, saying, I knew you'd make it. We'll go out for a big meal later with your mom. By the way, did your girlfriend go to the interview? I replied, yeah, but she doesn't seem to care much about the position. She came right at the deadline. My dad nodded and said, well, that's good. I just got a scam call, saying your girlfriend had a car accident and was in the hospital. At that time, the interview was about to start. My dad, although suspicious it was a scam, still went to the hospital. It turned out no one named Willow had been admitted to the hospital. On that hot summer day, a cold chill ran down my back. If I had received that call instead, would I have given up on the interview and gone to the hospital? From the written exam to the interview, twice now, Willow had messed with my mindset. And today's little drama, everything interlocking, who knows what else is waiting for me. I suddenly felt a bit relieved that I hadn't ripped her apart right away. Maybe she had some other tricks waiting for me. Was it the upcoming formal physical examination and political review? Or was she planning to sabotage me during the announcement period? We've been together for 4 years, and I never saw Willow as such a sinister, poisonous person. Is she so desperate for this position that she would go this far? Or has she always been this cruel? It's just a position. Is it really worth doing all this for? I don't understand. And honestly, I don't want to understand. Why should I try to understand the twisted logic of a brainless person? Hey, kid. The doctor waved his hand and asked, "What are you thinking so deeply about?" I lay on the examination bed, sighed deeply, and said, "I'm thinking, how blind I must be to have been with someone like that for 4 years." Chapter 4. The test results came out quickly, and my indicators were mostly normal. Only 2 values were a bit high, and the doctor, holding the report, advised, "Drink more water and rest more. These 2 values will drop soon. Overall, the physical exam is fine. Don't worry." Of course, the most important thing is, I focused on listening to the doctor's advice. His voice suddenly rose, and he said, "You must break up." I responded, "Okay." I've always been someone who listens to advice. After leaving the hospital, I bought a bottle of water and drank it all down, then hailed a car to S University. The plump counselor, Teacher Ma, seemed a bit surprised to see me. He asked, "Why are you here now?" "Done with your thesis," I replied. "Almost." "Teacher Ma, are you busy? I'd like to talk to you about something." Teacher Ma pushed up his glasses, and a kind smile appeared on his plump face. He handed me a glass of water. Teacher Ma is quite an inspirational figure. He came from a poor mountain area, worked hard, and became a university student. He's very efficient in his work, never dragging things out. I heard that when he was young, someone tricked him into giving up his bride price. Instead of letting it slide, he sent the woman's family to jail, and from then on, he focused solely on his career. I also heard he's about to be promoted soon. Teacher Ma listened patiently as I explained that it was a relationship issue. He instinctively asked, "Did you finally break up with Willow? That girl. She's too distracted. Did you hear about the recommendation for graduate school?" I was stunned. How could Willow have done so many shameless things behind my back? There was a recommendation spot for graduate school in our department, and it was between Alicia and me. I had a high GPA but lacked awards. Alicia had good professional skills but only average grades. So, the school had been torn, but overall, they leaned toward Alicia. However, Alicia gave up the graduate school recommendation to prepare for the civil service exam, and I was preparing for the same. So, the spot should have gone to the second-place person. But what does this have to do with Willow? What was she up to now? Teacher Ma sighed. Willow came to see me and said you weren't planning to pursue graduate school but wanted to take the civil service exam, so you were giving up the recommendation spot for her. I refused. She said that as long as she could get the recommendation, she would do whatever it took. I sent her back. I heard she then went to the department head. That guy's temper, he scolded her badly. The department head said, "It's not just her losing face, it's the whole school's shame if we produce students like her. That girl is really stupid, malicious, and shameless." Thinking about how I was with her for 4 years, I almost wanted to slap myself in the face, but it's better to realize it now than later when I've been completely deceived. I gritted my teeth and said, "Teacher Ma, I had no idea about this." A look of disdain flashed in Teacher Ma's eyes, and he said, "I knew you weren't that stupid. So, why did you come to me?" I told him about Lou's mother and Willow's manipulative tactics. Teacher Ma slammed his hand on the desk, furiously exclaiming, "Break up. Hurry up and break up. How can you still be hesitating? I'll call your parents right now. Do you know that being a simp will leave you with nothing in the end?" I breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed Teacher Ma was on my side. So, this was already half settled. That night, Willow called me. She asked why I hadn't returned her calls. I said my phone had run out of battery, and I'd been too tired after the physical exam all day to notice. She responded with an "oh," then hesitated before asking how I was thinking. I put the phone on speaker, and my parents were listening from the side, their faces turning dark. My dad pulled out some quick-acting heart-saving pills from under the coffee table, taking 2 with my mom to calm themselves down. I said, "I saw Auntie's message. Willow, don't you think this is a bit inappropriate?" Willow seemed anxious. She snorted and said, "What's wrong with that? As a girl, it's hard enough to find a job. What do you want me to do? Besides, I'm going to marry you anyway. Whether I pass the civil service exam or you do, it's the same, right?" I was speechless. If it's the same, then why do you want me to give up my spot? She continued. Also, can you have some ambition? Just thinking about passing the civil service exam to live on a fixed salary, what's there to be proud of? Who said men must have ambition? If you want ambition, go have your own. Why guilt trip me about it? She went on. "George, we've been together for so many years. If I didn't love you, why would I have stayed by your side? But you're always so content with the status quo. Your parents worked for their money, but you need to work hard to build your own future. That's how you prove your worth." Here we go again. The gold digger starting the moral lecture. What she's saying is, women's companionship is companionship, but men's isn't. And why do I need to prove my worth? Why can't I just inherit my family's business and live a peaceful life? If you don't like it, break up and find a simp with ambition. Why don't you do that? It's because they don't have money, right? You want both, but can't have both, she said. Don't worry about it. How about this? If you agree, I'll promise to marry you after the announcement period is over. I laughed. People who use marriage as a bargaining chip, can I really expect her to genuinely want to marry me? Just watch. Once you agree to this condition, it won't be up to you anymore. They'll keep raising the stakes. For example, she might say, I agreed to marry you, but it's not unconditional. You'll have to give me a dowry. She continued, you'll be responsible for making money, and I'll be responsible for being beautiful. How wonderful. I felt a vein throbbing on my forehead. How could this gold digger say such shameless things? Willow always threw tantrums, so I'd always pacify and indulge her. Because of this, I rarely disagreed with her, and she thought she could easily control me. Maybe this civil service spot idea came from the last time when she tried to take the graduate school spot. I glanced at the phone still recording and told myself, don't get worked up. Excessive emotions will affect the physical exam results, I said. This doesn't seem to be in line with the rules. Willow seemed to relax and said, what's wrong with it? You just need to write an application. If you don't want to write it, we can find someone else to do it, and you can just sign it. It's hard to explain over the phone. I'll send it to you on WeChat. Chapter 5. I kept stalling Willow. After several days, on the day before my physical exam, she finally couldn't hold back any longer and came to question me. At the coffee shop, she spoke in an aggressive tone. Did you change your mind? You don't want to give up the spot anymore? I pretended to hesitate. This is a pretty big deal. After all, I want to talk it over with my parents. She rolled her eyes. Are you some mama's boy? Always discussing with your parents? Can't you make a decision on your own? I frowned. But, she said, but what? You're unbelievable. We've been together for 4 years, and you won't even agree to this small request. You clearly don't love me at all. Yeah, you love me. You love playing me like a game. Willow's eyes turned red, and the tears started flowing, instantly making her look pitiful. Quite a few people around us glanced over at our table, fighting my disgust. I quickly tried to soothe her. How could that be? Of course I love you, she choked up. If you really loved me, why are you unwilling to sacrifice just a little for me? I put on a torn expression and said, I do. I never said I wouldn't. But I gave up my graduate school recommendation to take the civil service exam. I finally have a chance to get on shore, and you want me to give it up? I really can't accept that. Besides, the physical exam is tomorrow. Let's talk about it after I'm done. Okay. Willow slammed her hands on the table and stood up, her eyes burning with rage. She was so agitated her face twisted slightly. Biting her lip, she said, in the end, you're just selfish. I looked around at the people who were startled and whispering to each other. I tugged at Willow's sleeve, feeling embarrassed. Hearing the murmurs around us, she blushed angrily. She stormed off, fuming, leaving one last remark. If you stay this selfish, maybe we should separate for a while to cool down. Unbelievable. I clenched my fists, barely holding back the urge to give her a piece of my mind. The cafe owner came over, patted my shoulder, and said earnestly, Bro, being a simp doesn't get you anywhere. You may have lost a gold digger, but you're getting yourself a stable position. I nodded in agreement. And here's the funny thing, it was almost like big data was monitoring me. That very evening, I stumbled across a live stream warning viewers not to be simps and to focus on their careers. Every word was gold, each sentence inspiring. You can always meet women later, but if you miss out on your career, it's not coming back. That pretty much describes my situation exactly. On the day of the physical exam, Willow showed up even earlier than I did, me, the one actually taking the exam. I asked, Willow, what are you doing here? She gave me a sweet smile, but if you looked closely, her eyes weren't smiling. She said cheerfully, how could I not come on the day of your exam? I was too impatient before, but I'm happy for you if you make it on shore. She handed me a paper bag. I was worried you'd be hungry, so I brought you breakfast. I took the bag, wearing a touched expression. Willow, you're so kind. A few men nearby, who were busy scanning the venue code, looked like they were being force-fed public displays of affection. After the staff verified everyone's identities and sorted us into groups, our bus started heading to the designated hospital. A guy sitting in front of us turned around and said, Hey man, your girlfriend treats you really well, bringing you food and drinks. What a coincidence. It was one of the witnesses from earlier. I smiled and said, yeah, she's great. Yesterday she was telling me to give up my spot so she could take it. He was at a loss for words. Just pretend I didn't say anything. I must be blind. My bad. He cracked me up with that. Maybe this was a good omen. Aside from taking a long time, the entire physical exam went smoothly. 2 days later, I was resting at home when someone knocked on my bedroom door. My parents came in, looking anxious, accompanied by 2 police officers. It turned out someone had anonymously reported that I was taking drugs. There was no need to guess who, it had to be Willow. I'd known she'd pull something, but I didn't think she'd wait this long or start with something so extreme. And straight away, it was a big one. Chapter 6. I cooperated with the police investigation. The urine test results showed I was innocent, confirming that it was all a false alarm. The officer handling the case looked puzzled. "Young man, did you offend someone?" he asked. I gave a bitter laugh and said, "If I had to guess, it'd be my girlfriend. We both applied for the same position in the provincial exam. I got the highest overall score, and she was second. She's been trying to convince me to give up my spot so she can move up." The officer, still serious, said, "Well, you two shouldn't have applied for the same position in the first place." I sighed. "Tell me about it. Who would have thought Willow would fail the written exam for the 3 supports and 1 poverty alleviation program she'd been preparing for so long? Who would have guessed that from the start she had her sights set on the position I applied for, and that it wasn't just a coincidence like she claimed? Who'd have imagined she'd go to such extremes?" I added, "Officer, I suspect my ex-girlfriend might have tried to poison me." His eyes narrowed. "Tell me specifically what happened." I recounted everything, from the beginning right up to the day of my physical exam when she brought me something to eat. The police asked, "I didn't see any of those items at your house. I felt they were bad luck, so I didn't even touch them. I put them in a storage locker at a supermarket near the hospital," I explained. I thought for a moment, then pulled a barcode slip from my pocket. "Oh, good thing I didn't lose this. I frequent that supermarket. It has good surveillance, and anything left in the lockers is kept by the service center for 3 days. Within those 3 days, you can retrieve it with the barcode." Honestly, even if Willow hadn't tried anything else, I planned to call the police. Who knows what more she'd do for a stable position? There's no such thing as guarding against thieves forever. I need to take the initiative and make her behave. There was already a suspicious bottle of water with a broken seal among the breakfast items she gave me. I'd never drink that, and in fact, this was her second time trying to drug me. Previously, when Willow asked to meet at a cafe, she'd pre-ordered a bottle of something for me, but we ended up arguing and parted ways on bad terms. Usually, when I'm emotional, I guzzle down water. I almost fell into her trap that day. Luckily, as soon as I twisted the cap, I realized something was off. That cap had been opened before, so I asked the cafe owner to let me check the surveillance footage. It turns out he's a minor internet celebrity who often posts videos about healthy relationship values. After hearing what happened, he immediately helped me review the footage. The camera angle caught the entire exchange perfectly. He told me, "If you want to file a police report, I can testify for you. Let's exchange contact information. I'll send you the video so you can keep it as evidence." I was extremely grateful. He hesitated for a moment, then asked, "Bro, is it okay if I share your story online?" He promised to blur any identifying info so my real identity wouldn't be exposed. I laughed. "Sure, but maybe wait a few days, at least until the public announcement period is over." "No problem," he said. "I'll edit the video and post it once you've passed the announcement period. Meanwhile, I'll put out a clip advising men to focus on their careers, not to be spineless pushovers for women." Before I left, we shook hands. "Thanks, man. I've been following you for a while, and I really enjoy all your videos," I told him. He usually records his videos in his cafe. When Willow and I first visited, we happened to catch him filming. Willow even joked about following him in case we ended up in one of his videos someday. She sure called it. Maybe it was fate. After leaving the police station, I saw my parents outside, worried to the point of panic. My mom's eyes were red, her hair a mess, and her clothes disheveled. My dad was in slightly better shape, although the ground was littered with cigarette butts. The smell of smoke nearly choked me. My mom cried as she patted my back. "You crazy kid, don't take such risks next time." There was surveillance at the rendezvous point, and I'd made sure to stand right where it was clearest. I also had witnesses, including the guy who sat in front of me on the bus. Thanks to his commentary, everyone on the bus knew what Willow had done, and there was a live camera on the bus, too. Plus we'd been seated right under it. From the moment I took her bag of food, everything was on record, enough to prove my innocence, but I admit it was risky. Still, dealing with a snake like Willow, I had no other choice. Chapter 7. What is the fastest way to ruin a man? Accusing him of forcing or harassing someone, spreading rumors is cheap, and often a single sentence can destroy a man's reputation, becoming a tool for malicious people to attack others. Willow was well aware of this and had already started putting it into action. When the police showed up, she was in the process of writing a false accusation about me, claiming I forced her, with photos showing injuries she had made up with makeup. If I hadn't acted decisively and counterattacked immediately, I would have been the one in the passive position today. Once these photos spread, even if I could prove they were fake, it would still cause a huge mess in my life. I'm thankful to the police officer for adding another charge to her record. The officer looked at me with a disapproving expression and said, "Young man, make sure you keep your eyes open when it comes to relationships in the future." I thanked him, saying, "Thank you, officer, for handling the case so promptly. The consequences would have been unimaginable if you hadn't acted quickly. Once this is settled, I'll send you a banner of appreciation." He chuckled and replied, "Haha, I'll be waiting for your banner." The political review process went smoothly. It went so smoothly it almost felt unreal. Teacher Ma took a personal interest in my case, and the review list was something we worked on together. In the end, we selected a few classmates, 2 of my trustworthy roommates, Alicia, who succeeded in the graduate school exam, and a classmate who had received an offer from a major company. The last one was a student from the neighboring class who passed the national exam. They were all good people without ulterior motives, people I could trust completely. As for Willow, she had no chance to cause trouble anymore. She had already been detained the day I reported her. The evidence was solid, and she hadn't been released yet. It was likely only a matter of time before she'd be behind bars. After seeing off the staff handling the political review, one of my roommates, looking conflicted, said, "Earlier, they asked me what your weaknesses were, and I accidentally blurted out something. I said you eat a lot, like a week's worth of food in one meal, man. I didn't just ruin you, did I?" I replied, "Nah, it's fine." Another roommate asked, "So, I said you study too hard, always in the library, making everyone else feel pressured." "That's okay, right?" I replied. "Should be fine." No wonder the staff member who interviewed me had a smile on his face. With a bit of a teasing expression, he said, "Your friends are pretty good." I smiled and replied, "Yeah, they are pretty great. Not everyone is as selfish and malicious as Willow. My friends are all genuine." "George," Alicia called out to me as my roommates shoved me playfully and ran off. She walked over, congratulated me first, then smiled and said, "Good thing you stayed clear-headed. I really thought you'd fall for her tricks." Alicia and Willow were roommates. According to Alicia, after Willow failed the 3 supports and 1 poverty alleviation exam, she came back to campus and went on a rampage. She said she failed and was upset for several days. Later, when it was time to register for the provincial exam, Willow waited until the last possible day to choose a position. Alicia came back to the dorm and overheard Willow bragging to her, "Girl, let me tell you, this position is amazing. My boyfriend must have asked around about it. So what if he applied for it? He doesn't necessarily have to pass. If he passes, I have ways to stop him from taking it." Alicia recalled, disgust evident in her voice. She pressed her lips together and said, "It wasn't until I saw the shortlist and heard from Teacher Ma that I realized what she was up to." I smiled and said, "Your girlfriend might betray you, but your job won't. I've worked so hard for this. I'm not going to let some dog bite me now that I'm about to get a stable position." Alicia laughed at that. After knowing each other for so long, I only just noticed she had 2 little canine teeth. Chapter 8. Today is Friday, the last day of the announcement period. Everything has finally settled. I came back to the dorm and hadn't even taken off my coat when my roommate stopped me. "George, is that you on the campus news wall?" I asked. "What?" I opened it and checked. The last post on the confession wall had a few screenshots, dated quite a while ago. A student had posted a question. He said his girlfriend insisted on applying for the same position as him, and he got accepted, but she didn't. So, his girlfriend and her mother asked him to give up his spot so she could take it. The guy said he didn't want to give up his hard-earned opportunity, but his girlfriend was really angry and accused him of being selfish. The last part of the chat had him asking everyone, "If it were you, would you give up your spot?" The post also included screenshots of his chat with his girlfriend and her mother. Then, there was another post. No images, just text. It read, "The good news is, he refused." Now that his public announcement period is over, the post was shared. "Here's some advice for all the men out there. Be a real man, not a simp. Humility doesn't earn respect. Begging doesn't get you true love. Focus on making money. It's more important than anything." My roommates started discussing it in a flurry, each with their own opinion. One roommate said, "This thing has gone viral. It's even trending now. Several social media platforms are picking it up." Someone else said, "Some people are even saying it's a staged event from our school." Another roommate added, "Exactly. And there's a simp criticizing this guy for being narrow-minded. It's hilarious. He probably thinks he looks like a real man in front of women, but in men's eyes, he's just a tool." A different roommate agreed, "Yeah, at first we didn't think it was you, but the more we looked at the post, the more we realized everything matches up with you." Then, a classmate from the neighboring dorm came by. He said, "What's up with so many gold diggers? I just saw a video from a blogger. Apparently, there was another guy in the same situation, and the woman tried to poison him." I looked, and sure enough, it was a blogger I'd been following. He explained the situation clearly in a few sentences. At the end of the video, He responded to the people who criticized him for doing it for publicity and riding the wave. He said, "I stand by everything I said, and the official announcement should be made today or by Monday. The truth will come out soon enough." It didn't take long, and the official announcement was released. It quickly climbed the trending charts. A blue background with white text. The official notice. The dormitory erupted in chaos. It wasn't just our room. Several classmates from the neighboring dorm came rushing over. Someone asked, "George, is this Lou woman Willow? Can't believe she's that kind of person." Another person nodded. "First, asking you to give up your spot was bad enough. Now she's trying to poison you and even wrote a fake accusation." Someone else asked, "Yeah, George, are you okay? It shouldn't be a big deal, right? The announcement period's almost over, and it's almost after hours now." I felt really touched and smiled as I responded, "It's all fine now. It's over. After the announcement period, if anyone tries anything, they won't have a chance. Tonight, I'll treat everyone to skewers. Consider it a celebration of my success." Though Willow's in trouble now, her family is still around, and they'll definitely hate me for reporting her. With their values, I can't predict what they might do. They're the type to retaliate during the announcement period if they have the chance. So, I not only had to clear my name, but I also had to make sure I kept evidence preserved. Public opinion and justice always have to side with the righteous. I'm very lucky. I've encountered nothing but good people, and everyone has been so kind. They've been more than willing to help me. If it weren't for that, things wouldn't have progressed so smoothly. Chapter 9. The success in the civil service exam. Our whole family is overjoyed. These days, my parents won't let go of their phones. They're constantly making calls and sending messages. Friends they hadn't seen in years all wanted to catch up. A distant uncle asked, "How have you been lately?" My dad replied, "Oh, how did you know my son passed the exam?" The uncle, confused, said, I didn't." A woman from downstairs said, "Out buying breakfast." My mom answered, "My son passed the exam. Of course it's time for breakfast." The woman responded, "Oh, well, congratulations then." They even threw a small party, booking a few tables and inviting relatives and friends. I walked around from table to table like some sort of lucky charm, getting an early taste of the awkwardness of a wedding banquet. There's no hurdle you can't get over, only endless ones waiting. Oh well, who else but my parents would go to such lengths? After seeing off all the guests, my mom and I returned to take care of my dad. The old man was already drunk. He was holding on to my mom, asking, "Honey, do you love me? Do you love me?" My mom rolled her eyes, but still patiently answered, "Yes, yes, I love you." I felt like a stray dog on the sidewalk getting kicked. When she had a moment, my mom shoved a piece of chocolate into my mouth. She said, "George, you haven't eaten much today. Eat a little now, then order something later." My dad butted in, "Honey, why are you giving it to him and not me?" My mom replied, "What are you going to eat? Your blood sugar is sky high." I was speechless. Dogs shouldn't eat chocolate anyway. Because of everything with Willow, our family had been under a lot of pressure lately, but luckily, the storm has finally passed. Oddly enough, Willow's parents have stayed quiet, without making any moves. When Willow was first arrested, her mother called me in a rage, cursing me out in the vilest and most malicious tone I had ever heard. But now that Willow has been officially charged, how could her mother be doing nothing? That's not like her at all. My mom didn't worry one bit. She said, "What can she do? She's probably too busy dealing with her own mess to come after you." My dad has a lot of connections, so once he heard about all the things Willow had done, he sent someone to investigate her hometown. They dug around for a while and finally uncovered some details. It turned out that Willow's mother, Lou, had changed her name after high school and then changed it back after college. As for herself, she wasn't a standout student in high school, but during the college entrance exam, she shocked everyone with an exceptional performance, getting into a top university in another province. Interestingly, one of her classmates, who came from a poor family and had always performed very well academically, ended up failing the college entrance exam. That classmate got married young and had to work out of town to survive. The name of this classmate matched the name Lou used during her university years. In a news video, a woman with a tired face and eyes full of despair appeared with her ID card and told her story. She could have changed her fate and had a better life, but all of that had been stolen by Lou. My dad had said from the start that Willow wasn't the first, and wouldn't be the last, to cheat on an exam like that, but he never expected it to be a family tradition. Those who always look for shortcuts often struggle to truly dedicate themselves to hard work. Ghosts, in the end, forget they were once human. The sun always shines, and its light reaches every corner. The wise steer clear of love, the heartless are the first to move on. I'll have a stable government job, while she'll be stuck at the sewing machine. We both have bright futures ahead. just because my son invited his favorite teacher to his birthday party. Olivia broke down on the spot. She was furious. And before I could react, she pushed over the 6th-tier birthday cake she had chosen for him. I was about to ask her what was wrong, when I heard her voice, filled with a sense of betrayal. "Philip, let's get a divorce. Bruno, your mom is gone." After saying that, she resolutely turned and left. I thought she must be a bit unhinged. But a year later, she secretly moved next door. Talking to herself, what about the themes of regret and self-harm after leaving the wife? These two had no sense of remorse at all. I was speechless. Why should I regret such a crazy woman? Chapter 1. Philip, I'm the one who's here to conquer you. If you don't stay with me, I will die. In the 7th year of knowing Olivia, she stood in front of my car, battered and bruised. Saying this to me, she showed me the gruesome scars on her body, claiming they were the result of the system punishing her for my choice to not pick her. She cried and begged, "I don't expect you to love me. I just want to stay by your side. As long as I can be with you, I'll do anything. Please save me." I wasn't a good person, and I didn't like her. I just wasn't cold enough to ignore a living being. Besides, she had been around for a long time, so she was somewhat familiar to me. At that time, the woman I loved had just married someone else. The bitterness of losing to another, and the pain of losing my beloved, entwined within me, almost suffocating me, leaving me to numb myself with alcohol and work. Olivia happened to resemble the woman I adored, and in a daze, it felt like the one in my heart was standing right before me, softening in the moment. I reached out to wipe away her tears. "Stop crying, I promise you." And just like that, she stayed by my side, because I was her target. My affection and goodwill influenced her mission, so she treated me well, almost taking care of me meticulously. I gradually became accustomed to having her around. I knew very well that what I felt for her wasn't love. I just thought having someone like her nearby was nice. In the 3rd year of being together, when my parents once again pressured me to get married and asked me to go on blind dates, she overheard it, and her eyes dimmed immediately. Suddenly, I had a good idea that would satisfy everyone. "Olivia, let's get married." Her eyes lit up instantly, and the spark turned into tears that rolled down her cheeks. She threw herself into my arms, saying she had finally waited for this day. I didn't know whether my proposal made her happy or if it was her task's progress that thrilled her. In the end, it didn't matter. I wouldn't have to face my parents' pressure anymore, and it would help her mission. So I thought we both gained something. I told her that all I could offer was a name and money, and I didn't want any changes in our life before or after marriage. She agreed without hesitation, repeating, "As long as I can be with you, I don't expect anything else." And so, we got married. I soon discovered that married life was not as simple as I had imagined. Chapter 2. When my son Bruno was 1.5 years old, he caught the flu. I was stuck at the airport due to travel restrictions and couldn't get back in time. Olivia kept calling, repeating the same thing. "Bruno is sick. You need to come back and see him." I told her more than once that I was stuck and asked her to take our son to the hospital, but it was as if she didn't understand. Crying nonstop on the other end. The crowd was noisy and the air was stifling, filled with all sorts of strange smells, and my patience, already thin due to my cleanliness issues, plummeted. "Olivia, I'll say this one last time, take our son to the hospital immediately. Do you understand? My phone is dying. I can't talk right now." By midnight, the restrictions were lifted, and I gave up my trip, rushing home. To my shock, Bruno was still at home, burning with fever, barely conscious and crying weakly. Olivia also showed symptoms of the flu. The first thing she said when she saw me was, "Philip, do you think our lives are worth less than Fiona's?" I panicked and scooped Bruno up, rushing outside. "What are you talking about? Didn't I tell you to take him to the hospital?" I turned to the maid and demanded, "What are you doing? Can't you call for help? I pay you to take care of them, and this is how you do it. If you can't do it, then get out." The maid trembled. "Sir, it's not that we didn't call for help. It's just that Madam wouldn't let us." I looked at Olivia in disbelief. "What are you doing?" She became agitated. "Is he only my son? You, as his father, don't care for him. So why should I? I want him to know that in his father's heart, his life is less important than a stranger's." While I was stuck, I did happen to be with Fiona, but it was just a coincidence. I was abroad and she returned home, and we happened to get trapped in the same place, with my son's temperature scorching in my arms. I didn't have the time or patience to argue over these absurd accusations. "Olivia, we'll discuss this when you're calm. First, we need to go to the hospital." She pushed past the maid blocking the door, hysterically shouting, "I'm perfectly calm right now. You need to explain. If you don't clarify, you can't leave." Bruno began to vomit, his body twitching, showing signs of shock. I didn't love Olivia, but I loved my son very much. Seeing him suffer like that made me lose my temper, and I pushed Olivia aside. "Go if you want." Chapter 3. Bruno had a lung infection, leading to multiple complications. and it took him over a month in the hospital to recover. As for Olivia, she flat out refused to go to the hospital, wouldn't eat or drink, and forbade the maid from approaching her, lying in bed and crying silently. Her self-destructive behavior filled me with anger and disgust. If it weren't for not wanting my son to grow up without a mother, I honestly wouldn't care if she lived or died. But considering Bruno, I chose to go home and explain things to her clearly. No matter how I explained that it was just a coincidence, she wouldn't believe me. The feeling of powerlessness in our inability to communicate frustrated me. What do you think it is? Then, her face was pale, her eyes swollen, her voice hoarse to the point of breaking, weak enough to shatter at any moment. Philip, just admit it. You went to see her. I took a deep breath, reluctantly conceding. Fine. I went to see her, I admit it. So can we go to the hospital now? She started crying, gasping for air. Philip, if you love her so much and can't let go, why did you marry me? You married me but treat me like an ornament, ignoring and neglecting me. You don't love me at all, though our marriage wasn't passionate. It was cordial. So how did it become neglect and coldness in her eyes? Seeing her cry and endlessly bringing up the past only made me more irritated. You've always known that I don't love you, right? She suddenly froze, staring at me with red eyes. I struggled to keep my anger in check as I returned her gaze. You once said you didn't expect my love, just wanted to be by my side. So what are you doing now? Threatening me with your life? Olivia, do you really think I care? She stood there, stunned, momentarily forgetting to cry. After a long while, she forced out a bitter smile. Yes, I've been asking for too much. I should have recognized it sooner. Seeing her come to her senses, I softened my tone. Since I married you, I will take responsibility, but you must not act irrationally. With that, I bent down and picked her up. All right, I'll take you to the hospital. Don't be so hard on yourself. She closed her eyes and didn't struggle. After that, our lives returned to how they were before. Bruno gradually grew up, learning to walk and to call out Daddy and Mommy. Every time I came home and saw him wobbling towards me with his arms outstretched for a hug, my heart melted completely. He was well-behaved and obedient, quiet and not at all noisy like other kids. However, because of that illness he had at 1, his body was weaker than that of an average child, so we had to pay special attention to him, to ensure he could grow up healthy. I had originally hired a health caregiver to look after him closely, but not long after, Olivia fired her, insisting on taking care of our son herself. I told her she didn't need to do that. Professional matters should be left to professionals, but she was adamant. I don't expect my child to get 100% of his father's love, but I will give him 100% of my motherly love. This made me somewhat uncomfortable. I loved Bruno dearly. Even though I was busy with work, I always returned home to be with him whenever I wasn't traveling. Just holding him, even just watching him sleep, relieved my fatigue immensely. So why did it seem to her that I was an uncaring father? But I still controlled my temper and promised her, Bruno is my son. I won't let him miss out on a father's love. She merely smiled faintly, with evident sarcasm. Don't promise things you can't fulfill. Why couldn't I? Her passive-aggressive remarks instantly made me lose the desire to continue communicating with her. However, when it came to our son, I had a clear conscience. No matter how busy I was, I always made time to participate in the parent-child activities Olivia planned. I tried to set aside at least 1 day a week to take our child out to play with her. Through the seasons, with 3 meals a day, our little family spent time together, simple yet happy. Except for her occasional sarcasm, I genuinely liked this life. However, I gradually realized that Olivia and I could not reach a consensus on maintaining happiness. My calmness came from willingly sinking into the ordinary after the passion had faded. Her calmness, however, was a suppressed self that could explode at any moment. Fiona's divorce and return home was the spark that ignited her frustration. Chapter 4. On our weekly outdoor family day, I let Olivia stay home to rest since she wasn't feeling well, and I took Bruno to McDonald's by myself. Fiona was there too. She worked in child psychology abroad, and I was consulting her about related issues. The doctor had informed me that Bruno exhibited noticeable autistic behaviors. Fiona took out some paints and encouraged Bruno to draw a picture. Once Bruno quietly finished his drawing, she looked at it, her brow slightly furrowing. She said Bruno's inner world was very suppressed and he indeed showed tendencies to isolate himself. I looked at my quiet, well-behaved son, who was sipping milk, and asked with some confusion, why is this happening? Suppressed? Does that mean he's always unhappy? His mother has been there with him, caring for him meticulously. Even though I'm not with him every day, I've done my responsibilities as a father. Why would he? Fiona gently interrupted me. Don't worry. It's not too serious. He's a very intelligent child. I can feel that he has his own thoughts and is actively resisting negative emotions. With the right guidance, he can improve. I patted my son's head, who was now chewing on the straw, and asked, what should we do? I just want him to be happy. Fiona smiled and gestured for me to watch her. She called out to Bruno, and when he looked up, she asked with a smile, "Bruno, can I treat you to something to eat? You can choose what you want from the menu." She handed the menu to Bruno. He didn't take the menu or say anything but looked at me first. Recalling Olivia's instructions, I quietly reminded him, "You can't eat these things. Your health isn't good." Fiona looked at me helplessly. "Don't be so alarmed. These things aren't poison. Having a little bit occasionally is fine. And I'm not trying to feed him junk food. I just want him to know he can make his own choices. Children have their own preferences and aren't just puppets for adults to control." Some children with autism suppress their emotions because they don't feel satisfied or able to express themselves. In your daily life, have you ever considered asking Bruno for his opinion? I froze for a moment, realizing she was right. My way of expressing love was to give him everything other kids had. So I bought him all the popular toys. When a company CEO bought his son a planet naming right, I bought him too. Olivia's love was in her meticulous care of his daily needs. But I had to admit, we had never asked Bruno for his thoughts. Thinking of this, I took the menu and placed it in his hands. "Choose whatever you want." He stared at the menu for a long time. I wanted to urge him a few times, but Fiona stopped me. She gestured for me to wait. After about 10 minutes, Bruno finally made his decision. He pointed to the fish burger on the menu and then looked at me. At that moment, Fiona smiled and extended her hand to him. "Okay, sweetheart, it looks like you've made your choice. Now, can you go with Auntie to place your order for yourself?" Bruno glanced at her and then turned back to me. I smiled at him. "Auntie is asking you. If you want to go, you can." He turned to the ordering counter and slowly extended his hand to Fiona. In that instant, his eyes lit up. Even though he wasn't smiling, I could tell he was happy. I realized for the first time that happiness could be so tangible. Watching him carefully unwrap the burger he wanted, holding it with both hands as he brought it to his mouth, I felt a mix of joy and bittersweetness. I sincerely thanked Fiona. "Thank you. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have realized these issues." When the doctor mentioned them, I thought he was just being dramatic. Fiona rested her chin on her hand, smiling. "It's natural to be flustered as a first-time parent. Your willingness to learn already puts you ahead of many parents." She was still as gentle, forgiving, and insightful as before, as if everything in her eyes could be resolved. I relaxed. "So what should we do about Bruno's situation moving forward?" Before I could finish, Olivia's sharp voice interrupted. "Bruno, who allowed you to eat this?" In the next moment, the burger that Bruno had just taken 2 bites of was knocked to the ground. Chapter 5. Why would you let him eat this? Don't you know he's not well? Olivia swept everything off the table, glaring at me. "Philip, I don't care if you want to date your ex, but please don't harm my son." "Olivia, you're misunderstanding. We didn't." Fiona tried to explain but was cut off by Olivia. "Miss Fiona, I understand that after your divorce, you might want to find a man to rely on, but the man in front of you is already married and has a child. Even if you don't mind being a mistress, there's no need to be in such a hurry, is there?" Fiona looked uncomfortable but spoke firmly. "Olivia, please don't slander me, and calm down. I'll explain everything to you." Olivia scoffed. "I can see with my own eyes. I don't need you to explain. I don't care if you're planning to cheat or elevate yourself as a mistress, but don't involve my son in your disgusting affairs." Her words drew the attention of everyone around us. I stood up to block her. "Olivia, enough. Don't make unfounded accusations." I sought out Fiona because she specializes in child psychology and can help with Bruno's situation. "Let's go home first, and I'll explain everything there." She pushed me aside. "Don't use Bruno as an excuse. He's my son. Do you think I don't know if he's sick?" With that, she grabbed Bruno, who had been sitting quietly with his head down, and said, "Bruno, let's go home." She then walked away briskly, holding him. Fiona sighed and shook her head, indicating she felt helpless. As I picked up Bruno's things from the table, I apologized to her. "I'm sorry. I'll take you out to dinner next time to make up for this. I have to go now." Just then, Bruno spoke up. "I don't want to go home." Olivia froze, looking at Bruno in shock. "What did you say? Say that again." I was surprised too. This was the first time Bruno had expressed his thoughts so clearly. Encouraging him with the method Fiona taught me, I said, "Bruno, it's okay. Keep talking, just like you did before. If you say it out loud, your mommy and daddy will know what you want." Bruno's body started to tremble, and tears quickly gathered in his eyes, but he still managed to stammer out again, "Mommy, I don't want to go home. I want to eat a burger." Olivia looked at him in disbelief, tears streaming down her face, her grip on him tightening. "Bruno, are you choosing her over me? Do you not want mommy anymore?" Bruno winced in pain, beginning to cry. "Mommy, it hurts." I rushed forward, taking Bruno from her. "You're hurting the child." She staggered back 2 steps, looking utterly defeated. "Fine, I get it. If you don't want to go home, then don't. Do as you please." With that, she turned to leave. "Mommy," Bruno cried, reaching out to her. In the next second, Olivia suddenly collapsed to the ground. Mommy. Fiona quickly took Bruno from me. You need to help Olivia up and then get the car. Don't worry, Bruno. Your dad drives really fast. We'll get to the hospital quickly. Your mommy will be fine. With her calming words, Bruno soon settled down. When I brought the car around, Bruno was hugging the McDonald's bag. Fiona explained, I promised him a burger, and I can't go back on my word. And besides, this was the first time he expressed his needs. How could we ignore that? Chapter 6. I'm pregnant, running a bit of a fever, and fainted due to excessive emotional stress. It's not a big issue. Just pay attention to rest, the doctor said. And I learned that Olivia was already over 2 months pregnant. She had never told me. Looking at her tear-streaked face, I felt a mix of emotions. With Bruno, we could raise him with autism. Is it really a good idea to have another child? Fiona seemed to see through my thoughts. For Bruno, having a sibling might not be a bad thing. You don't need to overthink it. Some autistic children recover after going to kindergarten and making friends, finding companionship. Hearing this, I felt somewhat reassured. That day, I stayed at the hospital to take care of Olivia while entrusting Bruno to Fiona. She had opened a children's art studio locally, teaching children with psychological issues how to paint, using art and related games for therapeutic interventions. Bruno spent a day there and quickly took a liking to it. The next day, he told me he wanted to learn painting from teacher Fiona. Without hesitation, I agreed. He was 3.5, and I didn't plan to send him to kindergarten just yet. Learning some skills beforehand wouldn't hurt. However, Olivia strongly opposed this. After a heated argument, she reluctantly agreed, saying that if he wanted to learn painting, she would find an institution and choose a teacher herself. To put it simply, she had a problem with Fiona. I had explained everything that happened that day, but she still held on to her suspicions. I couldn't understand why she, having known Fiona since high school, didn't recognize Fiona's outstanding character and integrity, qualities everyone could see. When I defended Fiona, Olivia responded sarcastically, in your eyes, she's the best at everything, but that's your subjective opinion. I want to choose a teacher for my son based on objective evaluation, and I don't think she's suitable. It's that simple, Philip. It's not that I have a bias against her, it's that you think I do. Isn't that your bias against me? I realized I couldn't win this argument. Fine. If my son agrees, I have no objections. But my son didn't agree. He wanted to go to Fiona. Olivia disregarded his wishes and forced him into a nearby institution. I soon noticed that Bruno's condition had worsened. Although he had some mild stereotyped behaviors before, like speaking less, he could still talk and laugh. After half a month of painting, he stopped speaking altogether. Sometimes, he would even hide under the table. I realized this couldn't continue, but Olivia's opposition led to him stopping classes. I looked into the painting program at the institution and immediately understood the problem. Their teaching method was for the teacher to show you how to paint, and you had to do it that way. Bruno's movements were slower than others, and given his situation, he would unconsciously add his own ideas to his drawings. Therefore, the teacher would either ask him to erase his additions or to redo the painting. When I asked Bruno about it, the teacher proudly mentioned how Bruno had been unruly at first, not cooperating, but was doing much better now. I wasn't a professional, so I couldn't determine whether this teaching method was flawed, but I could tell it wasn't suitable for Bruno. Olivia refused to let me stop Bruno's classes. No matter how I argued, she managed to twist everything back to Fiona. You just want to send him to Fiona. You want to see her. Philip, if you want to see her, go ahead. I won't stop you, but don't drag my son into it. It was utterly unreasonable. We had a heated argument, which startled Bruno. He covered his ears and began to scream, hiding under the table and banging his head against the wall, quickly causing himself to bleed. I rushed to hold him, realizing he was shaking uncontrollably. Bruno, don't be afraid. Mommy and Daddy won't argue anymore. We won't go paint there. Daddy will take you to see the doctor. It'll be okay. Olivia lunged to take him from me. Give my son back to me. Give him back. As she grabbed Bruno, I felt his body stiffen instantly, and in the next moment, he bit his lip and started to convulse. I immediately recalled Fiona mentioning the somatic responses. I shouted, let him go. Chapter 7. She wouldn't let go, pulling hard on Bruno. Seeing Bruno biting his lip until it bled, I pushed her away in anger and ran out with Bruno. At the doorway, I saw her fall to the ground and suddenly felt a rush of panic. Remembering she was pregnant, I'll have the driver take you to the hospital. After a moment, I added, Olivia, I think you should see a psychologist too. Olivia had a miscarriage. When I took Bruno to the hospital, I didn't notice she was chasing us, crying out as she followed. Then she fell and fainted. It was a passerby who called an ambulance to take her to the hospital. The baby couldn't be saved. I felt immense guilt. Guilty for not bringing that child into the world. Yet I was also confused. Maybe the child didn't want to come into such a dysfunctional family. I temporarily entrusted Bruno to Fiona. To be fair, she had a way of soothing children, and Bruno was happy to be with her. After she took Bruno away, I should have gone to see Olivia immediately, but I found myself feeling scared to face her. Just the thought of seeing her made me uncontrollably anxious. I was afraid of her hysteria, her tears, and her silence. Every possible reaction I imagined from her was something I didn't want to confront. I drove around the hospital several times, barely managing to suppress my agitation, before buying some food for her and heading to her room. She was awake, lying on the hospital bed, eyes open, neither crying nor speaking. At times like this, any attempt at comfort felt too inadequate. I couldn't bear the suffocating silence and left after saying, "You should rest." Since my son was born, I had drunk very little, but that night, I drank heavily and got completely drunk. Yet my mind was surprisingly clear. I kept examining my relationship with Olivia. Did I love her? No. Could I not live without her? No. Was she irreplaceable? No. Why did I marry her? Because at the time, being together felt comfortable. And now? I recalled her calm, deadened eyes, my son's terrified, frozen expression, and the oppressive atmosphere that seemed to suffocate our home. I smashed the bottle, but my emotions found no release. Maybe I needed to see a psychologist too. I began to avoid. During that time, I worked unnecessary overtime at the office, took unnecessary trips, drowned myself in the bar, slept off my drunkenness there, or crashed on the office couch. Whenever I had free time, I went to Fiona's art studio to be with my son. In short, I didn't want to go home and face Olivia. I had no idea how to face her. Her visible brokenness made me feel like an unforgivable villain, but I had never been a good person to begin with. More than a month passed this way until Olivia came to the office to find me. She was made up, calm in tone, her expression normal, as if nothing had happened, but still, I felt as if she sucked the air out of the office. She asked if I insisted on having Fiona as our son's teacher. I didn't know how to explain to her, to make her believe that I wouldn't talk about anything with Fiona except for the child's treatment, that I could convince her of Fiona's professionalism, that our son was improving with Fiona's help, and that it wasn't wise to change therapists lightly for the child's sake. Such simple things suddenly felt impossible to say. I anticipated the predictable outcome of a heated argument. She wouldn't believe me, and we would fight. I was so tired of those meaningless arguments. So, I just pulled up the video Fiona had sent me. In the video, my son was painting an apple tree. The tree was yellow, and the apples were black. Fiona said, "Bruno, your apples look great, so big and round." Bruno looked up at her, dropped the black paintbrush, and picked up a red one, adding a red apple to the tree. As he painted, he softly said, "This apple is for teacher Fiona." Fiona responded, excited, "Thank you for the apple, Bruno. Then I'll give you a fruit too. You can pick your favorite." "Okay." He looked up happily, his eyes sparkling. "Okay. Has he ever smiled like this in front of you? I just want our son to be happy and healthy. I can't think about anything else right now." She chuckled softly. "Is it that you can't think about it, or you've already made up your mind?" See, that tone again. I snatched my phone back, my tone growing firm. "Bruno loves painting and likes Fiona. I'm not planning on changing that." She bit her lip, tension gathering on her forehead, but ultimately, she conceded, "I won't oppose him learning to paint there, but children shouldn't be away from their parents for too long. He at least needs to come home. Starting tomorrow, I'll pick him up and drop him off every day." I had no objections to that. I felt bad for imposing on Fiona. We had reached a temporary agreement. As we left, she asked if I was coming home for dinner that night. Before I could answer, she said to herself, "Whatever." The office couch and the hotel bed were uncomfortable, and the food outside wasn't good, but why was it that I just didn't want to go home? Chapter 8. As Fiona had said, after Bruno started kindergarten, his personality brightened day by day, his stereotypical behaviors gradually faded, and he became very popular among his teachers and classmates. I often picked him up from school. On the way home, he would hug the seat back, lean on my shoulder, and slowly tell me about his day at school, starting every sentence with "Daddy." His childlike voice and expressions, seemingly calm but filled with excitement, felt exceptionally precious to me. What puzzled me was that Bruno would revert to being that quiet, silent child in front of Olivia, completely unlike the cheerful boy outside. Moreover, I sensed he was deliberately avoiding being alone with her. At home, he clearly preferred to cling to me. Even when I was working in the study, he would bring his puzzles and quietly play nearby. During meals, he refused to sit next to Olivia and wouldn't eat the food she offered him. This deeply saddened Olivia, and I had seen her cry, asking Bruno what she had done wrong. But no matter how she asked, Bruno would only look at her in silence. If she pressed further, he would hide away. For the sake of Bruno's mental well-being, I always stopped Olivia from continuing her questioning. Sometimes, when she went too far, I would say something provocative, Love is mutual. If he doesn't like you, you should reflect on yourself, not expect him to provide the answers. You might want to consider why he's good to everyone else but treats you this way. Yes, anyone could see that Bruno didn't like his mother. You could even say he hated her. Sometimes, I felt as if Bruno was purposely trying to provoke Olivia. For example, not long ago, on Olivia's birthday, we had agreed to celebrate together as a family, and Bruno had even saved his pocket money to buy a gift, a bracelet. However, on Olivia's birthday, Bruno said he wanted to celebrate with Teacher Fiona. I tried to persuade him. It's Mom's birthday. Can we invite Teacher Fiona for your birthday instead? He looked a bit disappointed but then pointed to the fruit on the cake. Can I give this piece of cake with mango to Teacher Fiona? She loves mango. Olivia forced a grim smile. Sure, you can give all your cake to Teacher Fiona. Bruno didn't do that. He insisted that Teacher Fiona didn't like any other fruit and only cut off the piece with mango. During that meal, Olivia didn't touch a single piece of cake, and Bruno didn't present his gift either. Soon after, the bracelet he had chosen appeared on Fiona's wrist. In return, Fiona gifted him a set of Lego, which he loved and played with most of the time at home. Olivia had also given Bruno Lego, but he hadn't even opened the package. The day Fiona's Lego arrived, Olivia threw her set straight into the trash. Last week, just a week before Bruno's birthday, we worked on making birthday invitations as a parent-child activity. I told him, you can write anyone's name you want to invite, and if you can't write some words, Mom and Dad will help you. The first name he wrote was Fiona. Olivia seemed a bit unhappy but didn't explode. She brought out a carefully prepared birthday outfit, saying she wanted to dress Bruno up as the most handsome little prince. Bruno looked at the outfit but first asked, is there a dress for Elsa? Teacher Fiona loves Elsa. Olivia shook with anger, tossed the clothes aside, and excused herself to go set up the venue. Once again, I asked him why he treated his mother this way. He had never answered this question before, but this time he spoke up. Mommy doesn't love me. I had never seen such a calm, disappointed, and resolute expression on any other child's face. I instinctively began to explain for Olivia. How could your mom not love you? No, Mom doesn't love her. He interrupted me, looking into my eyes seriously. Daddy, she doesn't love me. I know. You love me. Teacher Fiona loves me. Grandpa and Grandma love me. Teacher loves me. And Lara loves me. I know. Wen was his homeroom teacher, and Lin Siki was his desk mate. I was speechless, suddenly at a loss for words. But I was sure of one thing, he was deliberately trying to upset Olivia. Chapter 9. Until Bruno's birthday, Olivia hadn't said a word to him. She prepared breakfast for him as usual, got his clothes ready, and took him to school, but they both silently ignored each other. Oh, and she was also ignoring me. Whenever I tried to talk to her, she either pretended not to hear or responded coldly. I had long gotten used to this state, so I stopped trying to force the issue and spent my time with Bruno, playing games at home. It was a clear division in our little family of 3. A week passed in the blink of an eye, and Bruno's birthday party began. Chapter 10. I hope my dad doesn't work overtime, exercises regularly, and stays healthy. I hope my grandparents live a long life, and that Aunt Fiona stays young and beautiful, and is always happy. When Bruno made his second wish, Olivia's expression had already darkened. Fiona, who was standing next to him, noticed as well and gently tried to smooth things over. The most important person should be saved for last. Your last wish must be about your mom, right? Bruno closed his eyes and continued. I hope my teachers and classmates. Olivia didn't let him finish. She rushed onto the stage, shouting, and knocked over the 6th-tier birthday cake we had chosen together, then did the same to the nearby buffet. She went wild, sweeping everything within reach to the floor, like she was venting her frustrations. She stomped on everything she could reach and screamed, shut up, shut up. She glared at Bruno, shouting, are you doing this on purpose? Do you hate your mom that much? Bruno stood still, looking at the wreckage on the floor, murmuring, 66 times. Just as I was about to ask what the 66 times meant, Olivia had already lunged at Bruno, grabbing his shoulders and shouting, look at me, tell me why you're treating me like this, speak. Her emotions were out of control, and her nails dug into Bruno's skin. Bruno almost immediately froze, his pupils shaking. I quickly stepped in, pushing her away and shielding Bruno behind me. Olivia, whatever it is, we can talk about it after the party. Today is our son's birthday. Do you really have to cause a scene? She staggered a few steps back, suddenly laughing. At first, it was silent, then it grew louder, until she was laughing crazily, tears streaming down her face. I'm causing a scene, am I? Some parents tried to step forward to comfort her, but she shoved them away, shouting, don't touch me. The sudden turn of events shocked everyone, and some children were already crying in fear. I closed my eyes, forcing down my anger, and walked up to her, speaking softly. Then what are you doing right now? There are so many people here. How can you make a scene like this? She screamed and pushed me away. What does it matter to me? Did I make it like this? Why is everyone blaming me? I wasn't prepared for the shove, and I stumbled into the buffet table, cutting my palm on the glass shards. The pain instantly shattered my composure. I could no longer hold back, saying, "Olivia, that's enough." Afterward, I instructed the servants, "Take her upstairs to rest. She's not feeling well." Olivia shook off the servants who approached her and began to laugh again, retreating while still laughing. "Enough. Yes, enough. I've had enough too." "You're right. What's there to make a scene about? I won't make a scene anymore. I'm tired. I won't cause trouble anymore." Once she had retreated a safe distance, she wiped her tears away, looked at me coolly, and said, "Philip, let's get a divorce." After saying that, she turned to our son, who was standing there frozen, and with a mocking smile, said, "Bruno, as you wished. From today on, you have no mother." I turned to look at Bruno, although he hadn't moved. His body and hands trembled, and he was biting his lip hard enough to draw blood. I took a deep breath, then let it out heavily. Having made up my mind, I walked over and embraced Bruno, calming him before turning to Olivia. "Are you sure?" She nodded. "I'm sure." "Okay." As soon as I finished speaking, she turned and walked away, leaving behind a chaotic scene and awkward guests. The party could no longer continue. I called Fiona again to temporarily help take care of Bruno. I apologized to the guests and gave them the party favors we had prepared for the children before sending them all out the door. After finishing these tasks and looking at the chaotic hall, I felt completely drained, but I still forced myself to message Olivia. "You can draft the divorce agreement. You can set any terms except for custody. I'll sign whatever you write." She quickly replied, "I wouldn't want custody of this ungrateful child even if you offered it to me. I'll send you the divorce agreement tomorrow. Just sign it, and don't contact me again until the paperwork is done." Looking at her words, I felt an unbearable sting. Chapter 11. The day we went to the Civil Affairs Bureau to handle the procedures was sunny. As I walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau with the divorce certificate, I felt an unexpected sense of liberation, as if a heavy stone had been lifted from my chest. I saw Olivia standing outside and thought she hadn't driven here. Thinking we had been married, I asked, "Where are you going?" "I can give you a ride." She coldly replied, "No need. Someone is coming to pick me up." I nodded. "All right, then I'll head off first." As I drove away, I did see a car stop beside her, and she smiled as she ran over. It had been a long time since I had seen her smile like that. Indeed, the divorce was for the best for both of us. She could smile like before, and I didn't have to feel so suppressed. Most importantly, Bruno was visibly brighter. It was only in these past few days that I learned the reasons behind Bruno's dislike for Olivia and what he meant by the 66 times. It turned out, unbeknownst to me, Bruno had endured much more than I could imagine. For instance, when I was out for work events, Olivia would always prepare a full table of food for us, and if I didn't return, she would heat the dishes again and again, not allowing Bruno to eat until I got home. She would tell Bruno, "While we're starving, your dad is out eating with others. He doesn't care about us at all." Then late at night, she would throw all the food in the trash. When Bruno could no longer bear the hunger, she would cook him a bowl of noodles, saying that only his mother loved him. For example, when I was on business trips, she would stay up all night, holding Bruno and lamenting about her sacrifices over the years and how ungrateful I was. Then telling Bruno that I was on business to meet Fiona. She'd say that once I had other children, I wouldn't want him anymore, and that they could be abandoned at any time. The 66 times Bruno mentioned referred to the number of times he remembered Olivia throwing food away. She tried to paint me and Fiona in a bad light to cast herself as the victim and win Bruno over to her side. Unfortunately, Bruno was a smart, sensitive, and thoughtful child. Initially, he became depressed and withdrawn due to the abnormality of our family, but with Fiona's treatment, he learned to reassess love, to feel love, and thus came to a truth: his mother did not love him. Love is reciprocal, especially for a child. It is even more so, but fortunately, those torturous days finally came to an end. While driving, I received a call from Bruno, who said that Fiona had told him his painting was sold at an art exhibition, so he planned to use the money he earned to take me and Fiona out for hot pot, to celebrate our new life ahead. I laughed and replied, "Okay, I'll pick you up in 10 minutes. Chapter 12, Olivia's Perspective. I am Olivia. When I was in a car accident, on the brink of death, I was pulled into this world by a so-called system. My task was to win over the male second lead, Philip. As long as his love value and affection value for me reached 90%, I could return to my original world and regain my health. However, after 10 years by his side, his love and affection values had always remained below average. If this continued, my task would fail. After discussing with the system, We decided to take a gamble, to convert his love and affection values into regret values. This meant that as long as he regretted his actions, I could complete my task. But how could I make him regret it? I researched many successful cases in the system's library and found that playing the sympathy card was the most effective method. So, I used Fiona's return to the country as part of my plan. At the moment of his greatest happiness, I created conflicts, fueled the discord, and gradually accumulated my moral capital before leaving his world. As for Bruno, his regret value was also counted. I had already planted many suggestions in his mind. As he grew older, he would understand what kind of person Fiona was and, in turn, remember my goodness. I opened 2 storylines, one for winning over a wife and the other for a mother. If I succeeded, I would receive rich rewards. On the day I proposed the divorce, Philip repeatedly asked if I was sure. Wasn't he reluctant to let me go? Bruno was so shocked that he couldn't speak, and I could foresee my success. On the day of the divorce, Philip offered to give me a ride. I pretended to be indifferent and refused, telling him someone was coming to pick me up. I wanted him to know that leaving him would only make me better. He hesitated for a moment and then left. I thought he must be regretting it. After the divorce, I specifically moved to a faraway city, waiting for Philip to realize my love and feel regret. However, after 3 months there, they still hadn't come to find me. Moreover, their regret values hadn't increased at all. I began to panic and decided to return to that city, brainstorming with the system for a long time before deciding to adopt a child. Maybe I needed to provoke them face to face to make them regret their decision. I went to the places we used to frequent, hoping to run into them. To my annoyance, I spent over half a year there, changed residences several times, and was very close to the villa we had lived in together. Yet I still hadn't encountered them even once. As I saw nearly a year pass, I realized that if I continued to delay, my task would surely fail again. I gritted my teeth and moved next door to them, convinced they would have to see me. On the first night after moving in, I saw them. In the yard, I watched Philip holding Bruno's hand, chatting and laughing as they walked to the next door. Philip was wearing casual slacks, had changed his hairstyle, and wore a faint smile on his face, looking much gentler and more composed than before. Although I didn't want to admit it, his current state was clearly better than before. Bruno had grown taller, changed his hairstyle, and wore a little suit with a small watch, chattering non-stop. "Dad, my teacher said my English is great, so living abroad wouldn't be a problem." Philip responded with a of course, my son is the best." Bruno proudly lifted his chin and continued, "Did Fiona tell you? Last week at her art exhibition, 2 of my paintings sold. Dad, I can earn money now." Philip enthusiastically encouraged him. "That's right, you're amazing. When I was your age, I couldn't do anything. I was still standing there in a daze until they walked into their yard. They looked so happy, so much so that it seemed they didn't need me at all. This terrified me. If my leaving hadn't made them regret, what meaning did my actions hold?" I couldn't help but ask aloud, "Wasn't it said that as long as I left, they would start the regret storyline? Why haven't they shown any regret? What went wrong?" The system hesitated. "Perhaps it's not stimulating enough." Stimulating. So the next morning, I took the child and waited in the yard. As soon as they came out, I would immediately go out and run into them, giving them a face-to-face stimulus. But to my dismay, I waited all day and they didn't come out. Unable to resist, I walked to their front door and was surprised to find it locked. Logically, there should have been servants around, and they wouldn't lock the door. Where had they gone? A strong sense of unease surged within me. Soon, I learned the reason. It turned out that Philip had moved the company abroad this past year, and they were preparing to settle overseas. They had left before dawn today. Along with them was Fiona, who was also going abroad for an art exhibition. I was both anxious and flustered. They had left. What was I going to do? What about my task? The system remained silent for a moment and said, "They haven't generated regret values. Your strategy has failed. According to our agreement, we will terminate the contract with you. In 10 seconds, you will be sent back to your own world." My legs went weak and I collapsed to the ground. I had clearly followed all the strategic steps. Where did I go wrong? Chapter 13 Epilogue. Was it all an act? On the plane, Fiona in the front seat asked in a controlled voice. Her acting was too good, wasn't it? She was going abroad to hold a children's art exhibition related to autism, and it just so happened we were on the same flight. I covered sleeping Bruno with a blanket and then whispered. It seems she was trying to collect our regret values, but obviously, she failed. Recalling that when I first entered the yard yesterday, I remembered I had left the food I bought in the car, and when I went out to get it, I overheard Olivia's words. Regret, perhaps there was some. I only regretted not divorcing earlier and letting Bruno suffer so much, not cherishing what's right beside you, and only crying when they're gone. Am I sick? Fiona was still in shock. This world feels a bit magical. Do you think we might be characters from a novel? I chuckled. If that's the case, You must be the heroine, and I'm the second male lead who loves you unrequitedly and seeks a substitute. She shook her head earnestly. No, I'm definitely not the heroine. Otherwise, I'd be sweetly together with the male lead, not divorced. That made sense. She pulled the blanket over herself, preparing to rest. No matter how magical this world is, we just need to be ourselves. I nodded and turned to look out the window. Above the white clouds, the sky was still blue,